Hey yo, what's up, guys? You coming down to say hello, Minerva? She said yes. Little Minerva says hello. You guys say hi to the class? Oh, she might mess with my door, but. Alright, guys, so today we're gonna go through continuing the reel. And editing it together, and I'm just going to kind of show you basically like the outlines of how to do it. Last week we got to finding and importing music selection, and today we're going to edit that slightly, and then we're going to just start. I'm going to show you kind of how to start assembling your reel together and getting it ready. I'm going to be stacking up due dates for certain things within, I mentioned this on Thursday, but for certain projects over the next couple weeks, the last couple weeks of class. And so, yeah, it's time to really hit the pavement and, you know, I mean, you guys should have been on the pavement a while ago, but, high gear, double high gear at this moment. So, with that being said, I am skipping a participation grade for you guys this week. We're not going to have a participation question, but we will have our last one next week. And so that participation question is going to be reserved specifically for your Colorscope project, which I'm also going to probably start talking about today in class, and then also really need all of Thursday to dedicate to talking about that Colorscope project and getting you guys, you know, you guys started on that for sure. We're going to get started on that today, but continuing that Thursday, and that's why I wanted to change that participation grade. You guys have been getting in, let me see here, edits to your scenes, your on your 3-scene custom like animation project. You guys have been doing really good on getting those scenes into me. Get them in by the 28th. We're like putting everything together now, right? So all your work should be done. You'll have the feedback on that. And if you haven't gotten feedback on any past projects, I'll try and keep up with giving feedback on that, but you guys really need to get that submitted to me by the end of this week, if there are past projects. And write me if you guys have any other like questions regarding that, or are not able to submit it, or have missed due dates for that I have put like hard deadlines on, right? And maybe we can talk about something, but definitely by the end of this week needs to be in, or it just doesn't go in your reel and you don't get credit for it at the end of the semester in your reel. So, again, I have collected some video assets here, some footage. I think did I put them in here? I did. Let me throw the other one. I thought I had one more. Here we go. I wanted to get this one in here. Not this, but this. Cool. Drag that in here. But I really wanted you guys to see kind of examples of 3D and 2D mixed in. Put all of your projects in that you've worked on all semester into this video reel. So, the bouncing balls. What else do we have? The typography project, the real and surreal. Here, let's write it in here. Oop, wrong. Let me write it down. T here. I'll make it smaller. What goes in my reel? Reel spelled with 2 E's. Again, so bouncing balls, typography project, real and surreal project, the principles of motion, both 2D and 3D. Oh, what else did we do? The monarch, butterfly, animation, robots, arm, and Eve bot. What else do we have on here? In your custom 3C, I gotta make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah. That should be everything that you guys are putting into your project. Now, will it all fit in there perfectly? No, because you guys are going to show the best parts of those videos, right? And so we're going to put it into a reel that is your reel. Should be about, let's put about 1 minute. How about this? Because you guys need more definitives. Usually I feel students need less of a range with that. Let's get more like precise on that. Should be between 45 seconds and 1 minute. We'll put 1 minute 15 seconds. Okay? I know that's hard to read. But 45 seconds and 1 minute and 15 seconds seems to be like a sweet spot for you guys for your reels. And then on our last day of class, on the 12th, I believe that is the day. Left that up there long enough, which is, no, the 11th, I believe. 11th is the last day of class, and we will be going over your guys' reels and looking at all of the work you guys have put together this semester and checking them out. And I did put in grades this past weekend for your I did put them in for your 3D logo. That's what else needs to go into your thing. So I'm going to write a little list. Let me edit that just right now so I do not forget. Adding together all of the mini projects. Let's just... projects to be in... I'm just editing this for you guys in real time. Make this bold, and I'm making it red, so you guys have to see it. Okay. And now this will just be regular gray or black text. Not underlined and not bold, but let me do this. So 1, bouncing balls. I'm going to do this in a little bit. Let me save. Typography. Then sorry, you guys, just take a minute. The monarch butterflies, custom 3-scene animation. Also, we want to add in there the robot arm, the Eve bot, and then the 3D logo, hockey logo. And then I believe that, I think that's like 8 projects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double there, 6. Okay, 10 total projects. Yes, that seems more right. Okay, I'm saving this. So you guys go back and look at this list. If you have questions on what needs to go in there, it is in your module now. Okay, so last week we put in the music. We picked out the music. We put that in there. So let us, we're going to slow fade this kind of in and out, because we want it to have like a clean fade on and off, essentially, when the video starts and when it ends, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to keyframe the levels here. I'm going to hit, right now we're viewing the waveform inside of After Effects, but if I again hit the L, notice that I started doing this last week as we keyframed it so that it had a nice fade in there. And let's go ahead and go to the end, which we can always change it, right? And we're going to keyframe the audio level probably at about right there, because I turned it down a couple notches. And then we'll move it to the end here, and then we'll just put in like -60 decibels. And so that's a nice clean fade out. You guys will hear that. It's kind of fast, so I might just swing it all the way back to here and drag this last keyframe. And you guys can't see me, so let me shut off my camera. You can't see what I'm doing. All right, there we go. Now you guys can see. Down here at the bottom, what I did is I keyframed at the audio level that should be consistent throughout the entire video, right? And then right here, this specific last keyframe is the one that equals -60 dB, so that when I play it like this, it fades down to nothing, right? And so, like I said, that can always be moved around. But while, since I've got this already on my timeline, I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer so that I don't accidentally move it while I'm throwing on different clips and things of the sort like that. Now we're going to work a little bit backwards here. I'm going to go into the footage, and as you can recall, last week I spoke about, I think this is it. Yes. We spoke about the reason that you guys made the videos that in the typography project that had your contact information was so that you could put it at the end of the video, right? And so what I'm going to do is when you have your video footage, your footage specifically over here in your project panel, if you double click on that footage, it will bring it up in kind of like a footage panel up here, right? Like a playback screen that you can view your footage in. And it is different from your composition is still up here at the top. If you just click on that, it'll take you right back to there. But this footage section allows you to essentially like trim clips, right? Because I like what's in here, but I don't want all of it. I only want specifically the last section. We're going to use Janelle's her just one that you guys all copied, right? Not the custom one that you guys did. You guys, I suggest doing that one, especially if it's a really cool custom animation one. Throw that one in there, you know, have something even more interesting at the end of the video, right? You want something interesting at the beginning and at the end of the video so people know, okay, this is what I do. Hello, Angelina. Welcome to class. Nice to see you. I hope you're having a good day. So, down here is essentially this little blue icon I keep moving around is like your playhead along your, this is like another timeline, right? But this is just specifically for the video. And so if I drag this back and forth, this is called scrubbing. I can go through the video one frame at a time. And what I want to do is I want to move this playhead to the beginning where there is nothing on screen here. And I'm going to click this button here, which is it says set in point to current time. And what that does is it essentially trims the beginning of the video. And right here is the end point. And this will trim the end of the video so that when you drag this into your main timeline down here, it will only have this specific section of your video or whatever you're looking for, right? Like if I were trimming only that much, it would have that specific section versus having the entire video on here with like sections that are weirdly grayed out, right? It just makes your timeline look nice and clean. And it's easier to navigate that way. And so I'm going to just drag this to right here. Janelle's lasts a little while, so I'm going to probably put it at 19 seconds. It doesn't have to be that long. I would consider, you know, remember what I said about the rule of having someone be able to read your information. Especially, you want them to read your information when it involves you getting a job. So having, you know, this up long enough is important. And so I'm going to just drag the clip from here. I think I'm going to just hit this right here. That is not it. Is it this one? That one as well. I thought there was a way I could just drag it in a different way. Nope. Trying to see if there's anything else that should be on here, but I do not. So if you just hit ripple insert edit, it'll insert that section specifically that you had in there, right? And so I want to make sure that I am in the fit mode so that I'm not accidentally scaling or messing around my videos. And essentially what we're doing, you guys, is we're going to edit these all together. So I'm going to take this and drag this towards the very end here. All right, that looks good. And so it'll end with Janelle's information. And then the one thing that I might want to do is I want to fade this video at the end. Actually, no, don't do a fade at the end. Let's leave it like this so that they can stop the video and see your information if needed. And now at the beginning, so we have our end card and all that stuff done. At the beginning now, we need a title. And I mean, we all know at this point about lining up our text and making our text look appropriate based on typography standards, right? So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to pick a typeface. Probably going to pick there was one I used the other day, which I enjoyed, but I will just pick Poppins is one I think that is on your list. And I'm going to make this font bold. And I'm going to type motion, hopefully in white. Let's make this white. Change my font color. Obviously going to crank up the size. Let's do 100. And this is a technique that we used last semester. I'm going to show you guys this semester too because it's pretty fun to do. Motion, design. Oh, what do I want it to say? Motion graphics. That's what I want it to be. Well, let's make sure we spell things correctly, right? CS. Dang. Took a second. Motion graphics, and then your name. So let's duplicate this layer again. We're going to drag that down. Probably do this to just one for here. And let's center all of these anchor points. So I'm going to click on this, control double click. Actually, we want to resize them first. So let us do that. So motion is going to be our first word. In fact, I'm going to reorder my layers so they're in order. I'm going to hit scale on all of these because we're going to probably be changing the scale on all of them. Motion, let's get graphics so it reaches about the same. And we want to kind of line these up, right, so that they meet on the end. In fact, I think this looks good. We're going to throw in some, let's put this at 225. And then I think my name should be okay. It actually should be smaller technically. Let's center everything right now. So center the anchor point. On graphics, center the anchor point. Motion should be centered, but let's just double check. Now let's go to our align panel. Let's select them all. And under our align panel, let's align them together. All right, we'll bring them to the center. Let's select from selection and go to composition and bring them into the middle of our composition. And then you can just unselect these, and we're going to bring graphics. We're going to hit P on these now. And we are going to bring motion up. We're going to leave graphics there, and we're going to bring the name down. And I'm just going to scale my name down slightly. I would almost, because my name is long, probably separate these out. Possibly. Let's see how this looks. Duplicate this, rename it to that, bring that down. We are going to center that and center this one. And they're on the same level. Let me see. Let's hide this, my second name, or my last name. I only have, let's see, scale, increase the size of that. Let's bring this in, hit V, bring it in. Okay, so I want to make sure these are all aligned, right? If I hit Control R, it'll bring up what you see here, popping up the rulers, right? And I can just drag these along to be in line. Notice then that graphics is the wrong size with motion. And so I want to bring graphics down in scale. Probably just a couple points, so 178. Let's try that. That looks actually really nice. 176. That one's good. There, and we'll center that again. Remember, when you start changing things, you might have to recenter your, just sometimes, depending on how you're changing the scale. This needs to be centered in the middle of my composition. So I need to bring it that way. Let's scale this down to probably 198. I feel as though this should just be one word. I am just going to make this one word. One line, right? Because I think that this will work for now. You know, I might play around with this and see what looks best. But for this moment, for this class, I'm just going to keep it smaller. I'm going to move it down. I'm just going to arrow it down slightly because it's almost separated about the same. But there, that looks much better. And so I'm going to drag these away. And I think I want to rearrange this so my name is on the top and not on the bottom. So I'm going to bring the position, hit P, and just drag that upwards. So it's like that. I'm going to select them all and making sure you have about equal distance in between both of the words, all of the words. Select them all. Holding down. Let's make a null for these. So right click, new, null object. Let's select all of these because it'll just be easier to do this way. We'll parent them to the null object. And the null object, we will drag this down until it censors in our composition. Turn on that title action sequence. Right about there. That looks pretty nice. Equal distance at the top. Equal distance at the bottom. Right there, right? And then I can just delete this null. And so we want to animate our text on, right? So let's work backwards since we have it all nice and properly positioned here. So I'm going to zoom in on my timeline. And I'm going to keyframe probably, let's do at 1 second. And then we'll change the timing if we need to. And so all of these have the positions. Let's do the position for these. And I'm going to move this back. And I'm going to have each of these texts come down from, or like come on the screen from a different area. So probably, let's do, my name will come down from the, let's do this. It'll come from the top, so it'll settle in there. Motion graphics will come from the left. Or I'm sorry, motion will come from the left and graphics will come from the bottom and they will settle into place right there. So I'm just going to keyframe the Y value here. And then on graphics, right, this is going to go down. So I'm going to keyframe, I keyframe the scale on accident. I want this to be position. Let's move over here. Keyframe this, separate dimensions if it's easier for you guys, you know. And I'm going to drag this down this way. And then with motion, I'm going to drag it over this way so that they're off screen. And when I play it, they're going to meet in the center there. And a good thing to know is when you, let's go ahead and unlock this music layer and let's show this the waveforms so that we can maybe start animating along to the beat, right? That was something I mentioned last class, is animating to the beat on this is definitely going to lend itself to like your animations, right? So maybe if I wanted to even move my keyframes over here, or let's do some easing and see if we can change the way our keyframes hit the beat, right? Just by the easing. So here I obviously made a change to the Y value. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to ease this. And then I'm just going to exaggerate these handles. Let's see here. I'm going to grab these as well. And I'm just going to hit F9 on my keyboard, function F9, for anyone who has a Mac. And let me go ahead. And I want to start to change this, the easing on this. It's not letting me do so. Undo that. Let's bring this back into view. Not sure why. Looks like this. I wonder if I... No. I don't want to do that. Let me go into here. Let's separate out the dimensions. Maybe that will help. Because here I've only got the Y changing on graphics. So I'm going to undo that one. Under motion, right click, separate dimensions. Right click, separate dimensions. I did not animate the Y position and I did not animate the X position. So they should all still animate in. Cool. And now I'm only have, if I select all my layers and hit U. All right, now if I go in here, it should work where I'm able to select these. There we go. And exaggerate these easing. So I want to holding down, dragging down, dragging this up to accentuate that curve, right? And so then if you watch my name come down, came down awfully quick. I don't want that. Let's have it go. Came down kind of weird. Let's do this. No, I don't like where it's slow here, right? Slowly going over time and then moves faster. I'm going to make this curve opposite. Or just more dramatic there. And then this one just kind of up like this. Not bad, not bad. I might want it to kind of hit a little bit more there. Nope, I do like this. I'm just messing with the easing of that. Then let's go to motion. We're going to play around with the easing of this as well. And if you want to, we can also do in the speed graph, which sometimes is a little bit easier and sometimes is not. Let me select here. For this, it's not going to be. We'll stay in the value graph and select both of these. Shift. And then we'll just, again, kind of drag that like that one. And you guys can maybe match the curves here. I like that. And then we're going to do the same with this one here. Opposite for this one because it is because it's opposite, right? This one's coming from the bottom and going up, so that's why the curve looks. We are going to, I want to make this faster, obviously, so I'm going to drag this in. Maybe to meet here. Let's see, because it's going to, I want it to land on this beat, right? So maybe if I just drag this a couple over. That's not bad. Here. All right. Can play around with the easing more of this a little bit later, but I don't mind that. I like it to kind of slowly come on to the screen. You guys can have yours come down a little bit quicker and hit faster, but I like this nice slow in, like, boom, happening here. I might adjust the timing a little bit more later, but you know, we're off to a start, right? We've got our title started on here, and so let's go ahead and add something that makes this look a little like cool, right? You can add motion blur onto it, right? You can click that or add any kind of motion blur that you want into it. And one of the ones that we used this semester was called the echo effect. And I want to use this here, but we're going to like kind of stack it, right? So that it looks cooler than normal. We're going to make it look like we're going to add color behind it, right? And so what I want to do first is I want to take all of these text layers, and I'm going to Control D to duplicate them. and I'm going to bring those text layers down below. I'm going to change the color of the layer so that I know they are separated, right? So here, let me do this so you guys can see this one a little bit more. We'll change this one to like blue, right? So blue and yellow. Ukraine colors. We'll keep that showing. And this was there. Now we do want to animate this text off screen. In fact, let's do that first before I duplicate these. So then let's go here and have it on screen for a few seconds, right? You want to Amanda McCara motion graphics. All right, there we go. So about 3 seconds. So let's go in here. I'm going to hit U, and I'm going to duplicate these keyframes, right? But I do not want, if I just go here, I can do this. And then making sure that there's no motion here, which there is. So I'm going to turn these keyframes into, let's do this. Let's start over with the easing. And then we want them to animate off screen, right? So I'm just going to come back around here and copy each one of these keyframes. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Actually, let's have these fall off screen. So they're all going to go down. So then first this one, then this one, ooh, which means we will have to animate the Y position here, right? So working backwards here, there, drop it down, and then, so this one doesn't need to be there. And then right here, we are going to drop this one down as well. Cool. So it comes in on screen for a second. One drop down. And we're going to sequence these so that they will look a little different. But I'm going to hit F9 here to ease these keyframes. And then we're going to go in and we are going to play around with them again. Okay, right. This is the spot where it doesn't move at all. And right here, let's have it, if we wanted to do it the way I had it before, it would go like this, kind of making it look like a half pipe, like a skateboarding half pipe. In fact, where did I, right about there, the 1100 mark. So I know that they're about the same. I'm gonna like it the other way when it looks like this more. Holding shift, grabbing this one, doing the same, holding shift. Maybe shortening this, holding shift. Right here, holding shift. Neat. Okay, cool. We're going to do that with all of them. Then we're going to tighten this timing up here in a minute. And so the X position here. Just kind of like that. And then we're going to expand this so that it looks like. Should I be going this way? There we go. And then let's do the Y position here, right? Because we want it to, we're going to accentuate that, holding down shift. Bring this one in a little bit, holding down shift. Cool. And then here. All right, so I'm going to drag that out. Push this in a little bit, kind of do the same here, but accentuating this one, dragging this one out, holding down shift. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Now I am going to go back to my dope sheet view and let's do the sequencing, right? So let's make sure that Amanda's coming in first. I'm going to select all of these keyframes, move them over only a couple frames, maybe just 2. Right there. That's where I want it. And then remove 2 more. And then that is where I'm going to put these ones. And so everything is going to kind of stack in. Oh, you hear the music starting to get all crazy. I want this one to take a little bit longer before it starts to come in. So this, I'm going to have to update this. To look more like this. Right there. I don't want it to be linear, right? Because straight, that's linear. I don't want that. Let's do that. No, I guess I do like it the way it kind of was before, but there we go. I like that more. There we go. Okay. And so now we want them to drop. You might want to change the way the sequencing happens here, right? Because this might be, we don't want my name to go down first, but let's tighten this timing up too. This is all kind of really slow. I'm going to bring those in, bring this in. Kind of wanted to hit. You can see these like the up and the down beats, right, on your timeline here. So maybe what I'll do is bring this down so that these are gone right around there. And so I want motion to kind of go down first. I'm going to actually tighten up the speed of this one too. Still. Even faster on these guys. Let's see. And we want graphics to drop first, obviously. So then I'm going to grab these 2 sets of keyframes. I'm going to bring these out. And then I'm going to sequence these out a little bit further. So they fall in like a stacking motion, right? Dropping, or they drop in like a stacking motion. I'm going to probably start actually back further. Should be able to read it. Cool. Let's see here. It's long enough to read it. And maybe just lengthen these slightly. A couple frames. Remember, it might not be the keyframe that lines up with the downbeat or the upbeat. It might be the peak velocity of your curve that lines up with it, right? And so you have to visually start figuring out where it's starting to line up, where that motion begins to really pick up, like accelerate and move in a certain direction. And so then let's go ahead and add that effect to it real quick. We've got the motion down. We've got it animating on and off screen. So we're going to select these and we are going to Control D to duplicate. Drop them down below all the other ones. And we're going to change the color of these layers. And then I want to right click here and I want to put a new adjustment layer. And the reason I want this adjustment layer on here is because I want everything below this adjustment layer to be affected, all of the text below, but I don't want any of the text on top to be affected. And you are going to see why here in a moment. Let me just drop it up, bring it up to the top so you guys can understand. And I was talking about adding the kind of smearing happening to the animation using the echo effect. So I'm going to go over here into effects and presets, and I'm going to type in echo. And under the time, I'm going to drop this to the, whoop, not to the name. If that ever happens, you can just Control X to remove it off of there. Select your appropriate layer and Control V to paste it right back in. And so all of a sudden, what you're going to see is that everything has like that echo happening here, right? And let's get this kind of smoothed out first of all. So we want to have obviously more echoes. Let's put this in 20, but we want them to be much faster than, right now there's too much time and space in between there. So I'm going to put negative 0.01. Let's see what that looks like. Not bad, not bad. Negative 0.001. Can I do that? Negative 0.00. Let's do 3. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, 3 is kind of cool. And then you're going to see it kind of happening here too. All right, neat. So we have like a smear happening. And we want to add a color to the smear so that it can add like interest, right? And so in order to do that, over here you can type in tint. And you can add a tint to this effect. And when I do that, if I change the color here to like a, let's go fun today. Let's change it to like a pink. The white, you have to map the white. Black's not going to matter unless you have black text, right? But then notice it makes this colored, right? But we don't want we need to distinguish what's being written on here, especially in this instance where you notice it's all just kind of one blur. And so that is why we made the duplicate layers, is so that we can take this adjustment layer with our effects on it and bring it in between these two. And it allows this white text to have the same motion as these ones below, but these ones below are being affected by this adjustment layer, whereas these ones on top are not. And so this one just sits on top as like the main example, and then we have this really cool looking like trailing effect happening on our text. Now, what's really neat is it doesn't just have to be one color. I can go in here and I can just shut this text, the tint effect off, and I can type in here gradient ramp. Let's see here, gradient ramp. This one right here is neat. And I can drop this below and notice that we start to have a gradient. Well, you start to control, there's these little tiny little controllers up at the top, and usually it's hiding under this right there, right? And then there's one at the bottom which allows you to drag this in. Oop, didn't want to do that. You want to make sure you grab the end point. And notice when I start doing that, it's changing where the gradient begins and ends on the text. And so if I drag this down here and drag this one further towards the center there, and then let's say I wanted it to be like a pink, like this color, but then to more of like a purple, I could drop this down here. And I've got like a totally different, like different tones, right? Different colors, but it's all super neat. And then when it animates off screen, it's going to do the same thing, which is cool, right? Like this looks cool. It's a little sharp. And so maybe I would add, how would I want to soften this? Because it's a sharp text, right? So maybe what I want to do is, let me first, I'm going to drop this to a lighter pink. There. And then maybe let's just try adding a blur on here Just kind of soften the... This is going to take a lot of... Let's add it. Let's type in here. Gaussian blur. Let's see if this is the one that'll do it. And then increase the softness of it. We can do that. We can do it at like 8. That's not bad. You can also add on to here if you wanted to let's think of what else we could do. Like a warp. Let's try maybe like some kind of distorting. Like you can start to distort things, right? So maybe we add a warp onto here. Maybe it's not this one, but maybe not the warp stabilizer. The wave warp. Let's try that one. Cool, yeah. Okay, so we want the height, which you could animate, right? So it's obviously a sine wave that's kind of happening here, right? Because it moves in like a squiggle motion. Let's change the width. Let's drop the width down quite a bit, or bring it up quite a bit so it's not so wide. Maybe 100 in there will be good. And the height seems cool. I think the 10 is fine. The wave direction, let's put this at 0. And so it's gonna look, I like that. Cool. We don't want it to like continuously be moving, so I'm gonna drop the speed down to 0, the wave speed. And then what I want to do is I want to animate the wave height here. And so I want it to be long there, and then right about when it gets to here, I want it to stop animating like that. And so I'm going to wave height. And then I'm going to just put U on the keyboard so I can see, as in reference on this text, where they kind of stop, and then just on the adjustment layer hit U to see where these keyframes are at. And right there is where I fully want it to be down to 0. And so it'll kind of look like this moving in. Kind of neat, right? And probably work on it a little bit more. You can change the direction of these. Ease these keyframes if you want to. Let's see if I just want to change the direction. $45. That's neat. I like that direction. And then I want to make sure that so I'm going to copy and paste animates again while it moves off screen. And then I'm going to right click and reverse those keyframes and time, right? So it nothing's there, and then it moves on out. Cool. And I am going to turn that blur on. Just delete that tint off of there. And you notice, in fact, the number of echoes I'm going to increase to 30 so I don't get such a harsh line. Maybe I'll take off the blur then. I don't have to do that. There, that looks cool. Music's starting to get weird. All right, neat. So we have our title started. Let us, looks all right here, right? Let's trim these. Well, first, before we do that, let's add a background to this, right? And you can create a background with some cool looking shapes and stuff that are like maybe floating around if you want to. But in the past, what we've done is we have used a piece of our work that has a blur on it. And usually a good one ends up being the surreal part of a video. And so maybe not Eric's. This one's cool. It's a little dark. Let me go back and see if there's, let me see if there's examples within here. Did I put them in? Nope. Let's find another example that's a little bit brighter from the class that we had. Yo, Angelina, are you still with me? If so, I'll maybe use yours. Let's see here. Go back. Sorry, I'm looking off screen, you guys. That's pretty bright. Yeah, this one was weird. Definitely. Let's use it, Angelina. And when I said weird, weird in a good way. Like surreal weird. I think it would be under downloads. X. Let's copy this into video assets. Let's go back over here. And we're going to import that into here. Oh, I was right there and I walked away from it. Right there. Okay. Alright, I don't need it to be a composition, so I can delete that. And I just want to bring in... In fact, this one might be good because it's brighter and longer. So I'm going to trim the end right there. I'm going to drop this in. It'll drop it wherever your playhead is on the timeline. So I'm going to drop that right there. It did move everything, which I didn't want. And that is, I think, because I hit the ripple one. So it's going to move things in there. I just want to hit this one right there. So make sure you guys are doing that right. Not hitting wrong, because that's going to shuffle all your layers. You want to hit that one specifically. And it'll just drop it in wherever your playhead is. And I'm going to drop this below all of our motion graphic stuff that's happening. I don't want it to be affected by this adjustment layer. So I'm going to take all of my text layers and I'm going to Shift Control C to pre-compose them together. And I'm going to title pre-comp. I'm going to hit enter. And that way it's only affecting just the text and not the actual scene here. And then I'm going to go ahead and if you notice, one of the things here is that the video cuts out before this gets off screen, right? And so we want to extend this video. And we're going to do that by going to time and then time stretch. And really when you do a time stretch, you don't want to go above 120%. And the reason is then it starts to get really weird and chunky. And so you don't want to go above any more than 20% or below any more than 20%. So you don't want to slow it down or speed it up much really beyond that. So I'm going to put 100. I don't want to speed it up. I want to slow it down so that we have more video to watch. And so I'm going to put it at like 90. We're going to see how long that allows us to see the, come on, working on over here. Did that do what I wanted it to do? Okay, that slowed it down, yes, but maybe it is to stretch that. I'm sorry, obviously stretching, so 120. Let's put that so it doesn't fully get beyond this. And so what can we do here? We can speed up our text at this point because the text is on screen for quite a bit of time. So I'm going to select all of these and hit U. And then I'm going to select all of this. And under the main menu, I'm going to go to where this stops and make sure that my last keyframes are there. So I'm going to move all of these over until they're right there. That way, they should be on screen long enough. Cool, 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 cool. And, but this is obviously way too bright and it's way too saturated right now. It's too crisp as far as this, as far as this background goes, right? I'm going to create a new folder here and I'm going to name this comps. And then I'm going to drop this into here and just leave my main comp on the outside. And let's go ahead and add some Gaussian blur to this. AU to this background layer. And so when I increase this, I want it to be blurry enough that I really can't tell, and I did not put it on the right layer. It ended up on my pre-comp, so I'm going to X, select this specifically. Let's change this to light pink as well so it matches. And that's where I'm going to paste it. Now when I start to increase this, it's going to blur it out quite a bit. I think 35 is good right now, but I also want to bring down the, it's a little too saturated, it's a little too bright, so I'm going to bring levels into here for my effects. I'm going to drop this down a little bit so it's a little darker. And it's kind of drab as far as colors go, so maybe I want to add like maybe an overlay to it to make it a little bit more visually interesting. And so I'm going to create a new solid layer. Ooh, yeah, maybe the blue will look cool. Maybe a yellow would look cool over with that. Like, I don't know about this. I have not. That is like an aggressive neon colored yellow. But I want to not change the track matte. I want to kind of screen it or like overlay it onto the background. And see like what it looks like with the text color. I hate that color. On this, for this specifically, I'm going to go into layer, solid settings, and we're going to change this. Okay, that's cool. Maybe a little bit of a cooler, maybe a blue. Obviously, maybe like a cyan would be cool. Brighter color. And so I have like, you know, so you can't really see necessarily what specifically it might be. But it's just more visually interesting than something not behind it, than just like a black background, right? And then what else I want to do is maybe change the, you can mess around with the blend modes, right? The screen is going to lighten everything. These modes right here specifically lighten things. These modes darken things. So if I were to put that, it would darken it, which actually I don't mind it. A little darker. And then you can always change the opacity of it too. So if you don't want it 100%, you can come in here and drop it to like 85. So it gives a hint of the original color. I'm not sure why it is, which is specifically turned. Okay, that's normal. This is rotated? I'm not sure how I did that. Quick draw, right? Maybe I do like the overlay a little bit more. It's a little brighter. Yeah, we'll see. It's not bad. You might want to pick a different scene or something that you guys have that you like there. And then once this is down, we want to cut to a new scene, right? So it's off screen. We're cutting the footage there. And we're also going to cut this overlay right here, there, holding down Alt in the end square bracket. And then I'm also going to cut this, trim this pre-comp as well. And I'm going to pre-compose these again all together and type in here title main. That's it all. Pre-comp. So that I know I'm going to pre-compose it. And then I know that this is just one thing in my timeline. And I can trim this down, right? Once it stops right there, I'll just hit the Alt end bracket on that and it'll trim that. It'll trim the that pre-composition for me. And so we have a title in here now. And now you have to just start stringing together the videos. But you don't want to just toss them all on the timeline. Like, obviously, that's going to be boring and not something that we want to see. And so I recommend kind of alternating between 3D and 2D scenes. And let me see here. Do I want to add a transition? I'm going to put a hard cut here, I think. A couple things to think about when you're going to be putting these together, right? Edit to the beat. When there is a beat in the music, make sure that there's like something happening at the same time as the beat is happening. You know, we do a lot of stuff with impact and a lot of things where a ball is bouncing and stuff. And so you really want to use that to your advantage because then it builds interest in your reel. And then the other thing you want to do is make sure to overlap layers so that you don't want blank frames. When there is a black frame, it is a blank frame, and we don't want those, right? And so things to keep in mind. These are what you want to keep in mind. And then also the, I would still say alternating between 2D and 3D clips. Right? So let me go in here and we're going to look at what we have so far. I'm going to drop that pre-comp into there. And we started off with, I don't necessarily, yeah, let's start off with, oh, Angelina, I used your Monarch one. Perfect. That one's neat. Let's maybe start off with this scene. Okay, here's something to know, right? We want to get the scene where there's the kaleidoscope of butterflies, but we don't want the very first part of the scene where there's nothing really happening. And we definitely don't want to add transitions into there. So if there's a transition in your video, cut it out. Not specifically in that project file, but make sure that it's not getting added into your reel. And so you want to edit that section of the video out, or just make sure that you're not selecting it when you are putting your in and out points, right? And the other thing you want to notice here is that you want it to be at the peak level where there's the most motion. And so right here, there's a good section of butterflies happening. And so I would almost put the in point here, go ahead a few seconds, and then put the out point, right? Because they're about to end. So I almost would want it just a few seconds. It doesn't have to be much longer. We want this very short, and I would select it there. And then I'm going to hit the insert. And then that's going to drop that onto my timeline. And so if I control an arrow key over, it is going to be a hard cut between this scene and this scene there. You guys can add transitional wipes into this. I would be okay. With that in mind, You do not want transitions, like you don't want double transitions, right? We talked about this and compared it to a recipe that you would be making in the kitchen. Too much of one thing is going to overpower your dish and it's not going to taste good. Same with the video. Too many transitions and it is going to overpower your video and people are going to be like over it, right? There's transition after transition after transition. Not fun to watch. You want to watch, so you're going to do something called a hard cut, which is, or a jump cut, where it jumps from one to the other, just one clip to the next clip. That is this. One clip, next clip. One clip, next clip, you know. And then have like a couple of those and then throw in an actual transition. And then have a few more jump cuts and then throw in another one. You know, get a beat going with your transitions as well. You have to start thinking about all of these aspects when you're animating these videos, right? And then allow yourself to stretch a time of certain clips if you need to, using that time stretch function that we were using. And so I'm going to play this here and see what it sounds like. One of the things on here is that there's audio, and we don't want any kind of voiceovers or extra audio happening on this clip. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go over to this section right here, and I'm going to shut that off. I'm going to shut, in fact, all of these off, and the only one I want on is the music. And so I'm going to go whoop and make sure none of the audio is selected from that. Cool. This is probably a good spot. It happened naturally. We're gonna add in another scene. Let's go to another 2D maybe. Let's see here. Janelle's probably to right. What one would we want to do? That one's neat. Maybe Janelle, you might want to cut this one up into a couple different scenes. Maybe we'll start here. Boom, right there. Before the fading happens, right? I'm going to select the out, and then I'm going to add that one in. And notice, like, if I were to have accidentally moved that over and I control and arrow key over, blank frame, don't want that. So, how do we fix that? Right? If we zoom in here and you hold down shift and you just drag it, it will drag it to the other end. It will make sure that it clips on there. Now there's obviously voiceover. We're going to shut that off. And then that clip might be a little bit longer. I might have to edit that out. Right now I'm going to block out this video, right? So I'm going to just pick some scenes and let's get one. I know there was the impact. These ones are cool. Let's do the principles from Zoe's. Okay, that one's neat. That was a blank frame in there. Zoe, so you wanted me to take that out? This impact part specifically was really nice. So I want to make sure it's full frame there, nice and bright. Put the endpoint, drag it over. Probably don't need it this long, but we'll add an endpoint. And then we're going to drop it on our timeline. And let's see here. Maybe right where this little section in the audio is, where it kind of, right here. So maybe where I want that impact to occur. So maybe I'll swing this over. Make sure, see, like the ball is hitting the hammer's hitting the ball at that point. So it kind of like, with that snap noise, like, it's almost like it's driving that animation further. Maybe we could extend this a little bit longer. Right here is great to end that on, to add another clip in. save our work. So we did, let's do a text one. Where's that text one that I did? Right, this one. Now maybe we can extend this back. Extend this back and we can see which section we want now. Maybe this good, better, best is great. We don't need all of this right there. Gone. Right there. And then bring this over here, and I'm going to drop this in. Go back up here. Now, if you find that you're getting annoyed having to go back and forth and stuff, what you can do is up here, you can lock this panel. All right, so let me do that. Let me lock this one. In fact, you don't even need to lock this one. What you can do is you can take your footage panel and you can hold it, the tab down, and you can drag it over here. And what that does is it allows you to kind of preview what you're going to put on there and drag that in. And then here you can just kind of scrub through and you're able to view what your video looks like. So obviously I want this at peak motion. So I'm going to actually drop this down to here, holding down shift, bringing that over, making sure, yep, no blank keyframes. Okay, I want it to really kind of be speeding up around here. So here's a trick that you can do, because there's a long spot in between here where there's nothing happening on screen. And so we can stop where it's full there, and we can hit Shift Control D to split a layer. And what that does is it just essentially breaks that layer in half and separates them onto their own separate layers. And then I can move over here to right before the motion happens, and we can cut this whole middle section out. And then we can just shift drag that. And so it'll look like a seamless, but much faster, right? And so, in fact, I want to make sure those don't get separated. I'm going to link those two together. Not that they won't get separated in the, here, let me see this. The position of this one changed. 965.40. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. There we go. I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do that because I don't know why I did. But I will change these two, the color of these two layers, so that they are the same. All right, and now, so we have 2D, 2D, 3D, 2D. Let's throw in another 2D one. I'm going to go over here. Let's get at Principles of Motion Design in the 2D one. Sorry, you guys. I just have to pull up your work and stuff, and I'm pulling things out. The weight and squash and stretch is the one I'm talking about. Where, you guys? Let's do Sarah's. I'm going to get a couple options here. Bear. Where's Bears? Bears is cool. Then we're going to get a couple more examples from other stuff. Let's do the robot arm. I'm gonna get Kaylee's. Download this one. I wish I could see a preview of them again. Either way, I'll grab more if I need more. But let's just go to where those are at. X. Put them into here. Cool. Drop those into here. Footage. Neat. Okay. So what did we do here? We did a 2D. We're going to do another 2D one. Robot arm. Let's see that one. Okay, so here is Kaylee's robot arm. I'm going to get it where he's like kind of already entered into the scene. Picks it up, chucks it, cut, drop it in. So then we have all right, and then let's throw in a 3D scene. You guys can understand though how this is starting, right? Here's one. Where is it? What is Brian's? What one is this? Okay, here. Cool. So start with them all up in the air. Just a couple bounces, right? Should be good. And I'm going to add this down in here. We're going to work on the timing of this. So a lot of these just about hit on the beat. I wanted to be already hit right there. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to time stretch this guy out. I think what did I do? First of all, let's shut these off. I'm going to be looking at this. I'm going to close this out here. You guys might have a more like a song that has more of a distinct beat on it. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in a minute. Another way to change the stretching and stuff of your layers to enable time remapping. And what this does is it throws a couple keyframes. You notice these keyframes all of a sudden happen on your timeline. And you can shorten or extend a video by adjusting this last keyframe here. And so like I want that beat to, I want that ball to happen now. So I'm going to speed that video up so that and then this section here, right in this area, we get this really cool change in tempo and beat of the song. And so let's go ahead. I'm going to stretch this out just slightly. And I am going to, let's add something. Let's add one of these. And drag this back into here. And just switch this around. And let's scrub through here. This impact scene is really cool. So let's start here on Bear's project. We're going to end it kind of right there, right? It doesn't have to be exactly when the animation stops. We don't want the entire thing on there. Notice how I've already got like several clips in here, and I'm already at 27 seconds, right? Like I've got limited time, so you have to be picking and choosing specific scenes that you want to be in your reel. And we're gonna listen to this. I like that. I think that's cool. It actually fits pretty nicely there. And then right here, I'm going to add in probably another 2D scene. And we're going to add like the surreal. Let's add the surreal one actually. Let's throw in something weird happening. Kind of like from here, where this motion happens. I'm going to keyframe that to like out here, because I think people will be like, whoa, what the heck? But we're going to speed this up significantly. I'm going to drop that down in there. Oh, maybe we don't have to. Let me just play it. Just seem cool. In fact, I am going to, I want that pull out of the camera to happen when that long trumpet sound, or the long saxophone, whatever horn that is. This section right here was like I want that camera pull where Eric is dollying out of the scene, right? I want that stretch to kind of happen here. So right now, it happens a little too soon. So I'm going to bring this actually over. I'm going to do this here. Because it's okay starting here. Let's make sure there is no blank keyframes. Cool. Actually, let's do opposite of that. Let's kind of bring that in like this. Why don't you just kind of start here? Holding down shift, right? When you're moving this, hold that shift down. Cool. Here's where that other noise hits, so I'm going to extend this a little bit because I know that I can. And with this one, Eric, I would go in and definitely add some like adjustments to this so it's a little bit brighter, because it's pretty dark, or add some like lights into it. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is maybe just bring that up in the levels a little bit so that I can see all that detail, because it's lost a bit in the rest of it. There we go. Cool. I'm going to save this. Notice how you can do that, right? You can add different adjustment layers and stuff to increase saturation. Like if you're like, man, I wish it was a little more saturated to fit the rest of it, you can do that. And then, let's see here. We've got a 3D. Let's add a couple more in. So we have the robot arm. We have this scene. Let's use... This one's the type one, I think, from Motion Design Principles from Jordan. This one's cool. Let's use your squash. I'll just go right here to before it fades. And then add that in. Notice how some of these, like with this horn section, you might want to save certain parts of your videos too. It should be exciting throughout. So you should have some of your favorite work and scenes in the beginning, in the middle, and definitely at the end to finish strong, right? And so then you fill in between those scenes in with maybe some other stuff that might not be as impactful. But, you know, working with that music, like I was saying before, can really lend itself, as in, like, this part of this song is a little bit more funky. It's got some funk happening to it with this big horn section. And so maybe thinking of, okay, maybe some surrealistic things would fit really well with this song, or some, like this squashing motion really lends itself to this area. Pop. In fact, I'm going to end right on that bounce right there. And I'm going to add in another one, but in 3D, back from, I think, Zoe's. Gosh, dang it. Don't do that. Here we go. And right there. In point. It looks like that because I haven't set an out point, and it was originally like over in this section, right? So then I'm going to come over here and do that. So then I might have to just trim my endpoint again. Insert that. Undo that because I need to be down here. And go back here, and we're going to insert that now into our timeline. Maybe let's time these where they're... Maybe this one drags on kind of a bit, right? So maybe right here is where I'll end this one, right? They don't all have to be long shots. They can be short shots, short clips. Another thing that I have done in the past, I want to do something. I think I'm going to reverse these clips, actually. So I'm going to drag this like this. Shut off all of the audio on our clips. And this section right here is where I want to meet up with a part where it's squished here, so that I can, the bounce can continue, right? And it looks like that's what we call a match cut, where you're matching a motion. So almost like a match cut. Squish. Let's save this one on here for like another. Right there would be cool. I think holding down shift, snapping that. I think I liked it before. Right, and now we can maybe find something up here. Thinking of that music, right? And let me see. Maybe one of these from the... I'm going to download a couple other from the custom 3 scenes. because you guys did good jobs on these. Download this one. And maybe Lee's with the bat. I actually like doing this with your guys' work from this semester so you can really see and have examples of your own stuff in here. Obviously, this is not my work, and I'm not going to claim your work. Let's do a wasp shot. Make this fit. This is cool. I really enjoy this shot a lot from Eric's. That's really neat. So I'm gonna kind of there. Let's drop that in. Hear what it sounds like.
A pollen-covered female.
Shut that audio off. Okay, so we're close. We're getting close. This is obviously way too too long. I kind of want to move it a little closer to here. I cut it way over here because I don't need it. Holding down shift, snapping that to there. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Time stretch. Let's do like 95, shorten it. I think if I just control arrow over, I can endpoint that. Out this point. Drop this in on our timeline.
Poetry.
Shut off the audio. And we obviously want to speed this up so we can fit a couple more things. So I'm going to zoom in here, right click, time, enable time remapping. Now, because of where Janelle's video starts, there's the first keyframe is right there. Now I'm going to have to move this clip over to find the last keyframe, which will, if I zoom out of the timeline, hopefully be here. Where is, let me undo that and then just kind of move this back. All right, which happens to be here. So I might move this in a little bit, but I might not need all that. Let's kind of see how it just looks as far as speed. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then that way we can cut right there. And then hold down shift and make sure that connects there. And we are here already at our final, which we can bring up to the top. I would maybe extend this another few seconds so that this can be on screen long enough. So I'd probably put it at 48 seconds. And your clips might be a lot shorter. Some of them, you know, they shouldn't be much longer than this really, just like a few seconds for each of them. We might want to move over this last, let's see. Let me undo that and take these. Move that to the end here. Move Janelle's thing to the end and extend that slightly. That's cool. And even at the end, I really like to hear a nice long fade happening, like a smooth transitional fade. And so I might even extend these keyframes out a little bit more so that it's like nice and slow into the final volume, you know, the final setting essentially of that. And then here I would add just one more scene that is 3D, which I will use. Let's do the recently we just did the 3D logo, so let's do that one. Cinema 4D 3D logo. Let me see. Oh, trying to find your guys' stuff. I'm gonna go back. We're gonna do here, let's do this one. Let's add Jessica's. Yeah, we're gonna do Jessica's Eve bot to wrap this up kind of at the end here. Then I'm gonna show you an example of a reel that you guys can see. Ah, we got the bat too. can always do that. This one's cool, right here. Let's do this. Let's start right here. This is a cool scene here, Lee. We're going to end here. Because we're going to fade off of this last shot into the final. My chair is so squeaky.
This gives them the ability to see in the dark.
Shut that. Right here, I obviously don't want that. Shift Control D. I'm going to right there. And then I'm going to take this last one, bring that up to the top. I might hear, let me see, let's speed this one up. And then we're just going to kind of, let's overlap this one for, I'm going to hit T, and I want it 100% there, but then over here, I want it to be 0%, so it can fade in after the eye fade in. You know. See you. And I would just extend this even a little bit further, right? So maybe mine goes to 52 seconds. And I'm going to go to the end. And I'm going to look at this. I'm going to hit L again. Take this and drag it on over to right here. We want it to end. Close, 51 seconds. I'm going to hit N on my keyboard and I'm going to trim this layer, or this composition. And then while you're watching it through, right, you're going to adjust things. You're going to add in some transitions. You're going to mess around maybe a little bit with the organization of your shots and stuff that you have in here, right? But the point of a reel is it should be quick, snappy, and it should be showcasing your best work. So even though we don't use all of the videos, well, all sections of the videos that we've done, right? We're using the best parts of those videos. And those are the things that you're going to get jobs for, right? You want to show the work you want to do, not the work that you don't want to do. And so for this one, you guys have enough to put in here, obviously, to mess around and find your best shots of your projects and throw them in. And you'll use make sure that you're separating projects from each other, right? Like notice I used the impact scene here from the Principles of Motion 3D project, but then over here, I use the weight scene, right? I kept them separate, and that adds visual interest to your reel versus like trying to pack them all into one space and it looks really boring and it's like, oh, okay, like all of your work. I see how it is. I have done a reel like that in the past and it just doesn't look that great. Here is an example of my current reel where you can see different... I just am aware of mine. I don't know. Here, maybe there could be a reel on. here is my reel for this past year, right? Notice how things are animating on beat, right? Like all of my transitions happen to happen during a beat. Movements happen during a certain part in the song. Things kind of pop up, done. Notice how like I'm going to start to use different transitions and stuff in here, but they're not all like that. Like I use the ball to wipe and transition into this one. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do in here to make it really interesting and cool looking. And so having fun with this, you know, this is really important to start taking all of your collective work and putting it together. And the biggest thing I want you guys to do when it comes to this is I really want you to watch your video, your reel, over and over until you feel like, okay, there's a consistent, like, there's a flow to it, there's a beat to it, there's like drive to it, there's a punch at the end, right? And so I want you guys to take and do that before you turn it in, before you submit, right? And this is something that's going to be a much quicker project to do. And so I have the due date for this one. Let's see here. Let's pull it up. So let's kind of look at what the rest of the semester is going to be like. Okay. The due date for the reel is the 27th. So 2 days. I want to see them on Thursday, right? I want to see your reels put together by that day. And then the second reel, I'm going to obviously change the date. This is for past class one. You don't have to worry about all of this stuff. Let me see here. Let me go into what you guys see right now. You guys have the motion graphics reel editing together, have that then. You do not have, your next participation grade is due on the 3rd of May. And that one's going to be directed towards either your reel. I want those questions to be about either your reel, or I want them to be about this next project that we're going to be talking about. And because of lack of time in classes and stuff that we have for this project, we might skip a couple of steps here. But the Colorscope, let's look at this. Let's look at this one. I'm going to, hold on. Do that, but I need to take this one, this one, this one, this one, this one down, this one down. I want that one up. Okay, not all of these are going to be turned in, right? Okay, just some of them. So let's look at these real quick. It's essentially going to be like your project that you had with the custom 3-scene animations, right? Except you guys are going to be required to add in a 3D scene. Like there's a requirement for it. So you're going to create an infographic in a similar style to like the CNN Colorscopes. And you can watch the series here. And they're super awesome. Like it's great. They just talk about colors and facts about the colors and, you know, different types of interesting information. And you're going to be recording, you're going to write a script, right? You're going to record a voiceover. You're going to be storyboarding for this, and you're going to be creating the animation and all of the assets. It should be about 1:30 seconds. Like the entire video should be that. Or that's about how long these ones are. We're going to produce one a lot shorter. It's only going to be 30 to 45 seconds long, which is much, you know, that's like what we just did for the reel. So, you know, keep this section in mind. We're going to talk more about this project as well on Thursday. I'm going to go over this, but I want you guys to start, you know, I want you guys to get a head start on this if you can. I want you guys to watch all the videos in the series and take notes of the animations that you see, and the animators, and, you know, follow those people on Instagram, look at the kind of stuff they're doing right now and the relationship between the voiceover and the animations. It's not going to be literal, right? So a lot of what you're going to see is kind of abstract thinking of how to visualize these colors in an animation. And so I want you guys to kind of note that type of thing when you're watching these videos. Note how, hey, what you like. How they maybe represented royalty or like a regalness or like calmness or something like that, right? Versus how you might initially try to think about visualizing something. And then with the design brief, this is what you're going to be creating for here. A design brief essentially is like a blueprint, like a plan out of what you're going to do for your animation. And it's going to serve you throughout your process as like a guide where you can refer back to, right? The first thing you got to do is you have to select your color that you're going to use. You can select a color hue that's not in the original Colorscope, anything. You don't it doesn't have to be that. I've had people in the past do like forest green or lavender or, you know, colors that are on the colors, just the color spectrum, right? So it can be an aqua color or turquoise. There's plenty of colors. The one thing I say, don't select any shiny colors like silver, platinum, or glitter. They're really, you know, it's gonna, especially noted here, like they're gonna be rely on rendering techniques that would push beyond what you guys can do with your machines, and especially in this allotted time. And so, in fact, let me go through here. Let me leave the student view. And I'm gonna edit this real quick. And I'm gonna make it so this is, I'm gonna bold that. It's important. Underlining this so you guys get it. Saving that. Okay. All right, and I'm going to go over more of this stuff and like more examples and stuff on Thursday of this, but no shiny colors at all, you know. In this little thing here, beware of colors that are overly specific may prove to be difficult to research, right? Some past projects, examples that have colors people have focused on. What the design brief will include, right? I want to see a script in there. Would be for 4 sentences about the focus color, and you have to do research on the focus color that you're selecting, and you have to write those 4 sentences, right? Not paragraphs. Keep in mind what we did for our recent 3-scene animation. That's what you're going to want to do here, right? Short, concise sentences. Expand your research beyond Wikipedia articles. You know, start looking in stuff here. A lot of what happens at this point is that we see a lot of the same facts being recycled class after class, and that's not fun, right? We want to see new and exciting facts and visualizations of those facts, and so make sure to find some interesting stuff about your color that might be a little bit more unique. Use the color and theme to write the introduction sentence for the animation. Here is an example of that. Like if you were doing black, black is the color of omnipotence. Red is the color of desire. Blue is the color of tranquility. Great examples of how to start off your sentences. Time yourself reading them aloud at a slow pace. If it takes you longer than 45 seconds to read all the content, then you need to shorten it, okay? You need to filter that, and you need to write concise sentences. And then fill in the 4 sentences on the first page of your design brief. I think that there are, do we have some examples? I wish I had an example. Here's examples. Perfect. An example. Colorscope. Name. We'll go after this when we're done reviewing the rest of this here. So after you have your script written on there, right, in your design brief, you're going to pick out your color palette. You can use the Adobe color palette site here, right? Or you can use that coolers.com, which I told you about. But you guys all have access to this. And you can pick a specific color through here, right? You use with a monochromatic color scheme, right? Or shades of color harmony rule to develop your color palette. So what does that mean, right? We do not want a bunch of different colors. Like if I click on here, right? And we go to, we're in analogous, right? So it's going to pick that. Like, you don't want it in complementary. I don't want to see this. I want to see monochromatic. So make sure that you filter it to that. Let's say I wanted to pick like a, let's say I wanted to pick an orange or a pink. Ooh, that was a pretty color, pink. Right there. I like that. It's kind of like rose and then like a coral color. Monochromatic color scheme, right? I can adjust these if I want it a little lighter on this side, a little darker, right? You can adjust these a little bit, but you have to, it has to be a monochromatic. It looks better that way. You can include black, white, and white or brown if you have orange, right? But not both. So it's either black or white, but not both. And you're going to save the color palette to your Adobe profile. And then you're going to like screenshot this or set it up in an example inside of your design brief. And then you're going to take some inspirational reference images, right? You're going to pick a few scenes from the Colorscopes that you watch. It can be different videos. It doesn't have to be the same one. And they should exhibit techniques that you want to emulate within your project, right? So techniques that you might want to learn. And we can do something around that. And in the design brief, there's going to be space to discuss. You have to discuss each of your inspirational examples and why you like them, right? Like choose an effective transition between scenes and talking about the relationship between the voiceover and the animation, right? Notes on how to do this. And then storyboarding. So essentially sketching out each one of your scenes, right? Feel free to print this design brief and create the storyboard in real life with a pen and pencil if you want to, or you can use Procreate, and it doesn't have to be pretty, right? It just has to represent something. I recommend staying away from characters again. They will be a lot. You only have 2 weeks of class left, and we need to powerhouse through this project. And so I'm going to say no characters really for this. You know, maybe some sections of them, but like it's not going to be like a fully rigged character, okay? And keeping it simple is much easier to build a well-executed, clean idea than it is to rein in poorly executed ideas, right? And I want you to go through this, make sure you're reading through all of these, talking about digitally scanning your storyboard, some good indicators on storyboard practices and how to use motion, and keeping the details low. Spend less time about how it looks good and more time about the like what's going to be happening. So let me see, story animation storyboard. Keep in mind what you're going to see might be way too detailed. I'm going to try and find one that's very simple that effectively displays what we want to see. A lot of these are like obviously Disney. These are artists who just do storyboarding. They don't do anything else. So don't take this as like what it has to look like 1,000%. This storyboard, perfect. Your guys' storyboard can look exactly like that. Notes, ball runs into the rolls into the frame. Soccer ball sits quietly. ball opens eyes and looks around. Like, this is a great example of what your storyboard can look like, right? It's not perfect, but it gives a general gist of what is going to happen. So I really want you guys to keep in mind, like, it does not have to be detailed. This should be a quick work through, especially in this class, right? If you're doing it for other things, it is better to, you know, spend a little bit more time on things. Like, if it were for a movie, you'll get, oh, excuse me, you'll get faster at doing that kind of stuff, right? But for now, very quick sketches, just have to make sure I understand what it is. And then just fill this out and follow through the rest of it. When using the following template for your design brief, you know, if you're comfortable using InDesign, you can use that. Don't submit an InDesign file for this project. Or you can create a bunch of separate images and put them into one PDF, right? That's possible. If you guys can't print out the design brief. I mean, you could pen and pencil everything if you want to. I wouldn't mind that. But it all has to be in one single document. And then again, examples, student examples of past ones, right? And so we're going to go through that right now. Where we have the script, the topic, right? Black, obviously. Black goes with everything. I find the shade to be interesting due to its versatility and large range of interpretations. Why do you think this idea will translate into an animation format, right? That's just kind of the description of it. Now, black is the color of omnipotence, part 1. One of the most powerful forces in the universe is a black hole. Part 2, right? Scene 2. In ancient Egypt, the color black often represented death and darkness, as well as life, birth, and resurrection. Scene 3. Notice there's going to be 4 scenes in this, right? 1, we're adding an extra scene. Because we're not going to put, like, our... We will put our name, I think, at the end. But you will definitely put your name at the end. Part 3. In the countries of Japan and the United Kingdom are thought to bring fortune in the form of good luck and wealth, right? And then, so this is going to be your script. And then you're going to put your color palette on here, right? Obviously, different shades of black. And then here is your inspiration, right? I would like to emulate similarly creative, smooth, and effective transitions such as these. And then put the reference right here, right? So you want to do that as well. And the time codes, important. And screen captures, right? Another example, inspiration number 2. I'd like to emulate the use of simple design to convey more than the words that are being said, right? More examples. And so this, if you get this to me by the date that's due, if you get this to me on Thursday, I would love that, because then on Thursday I can use yours as an example and we can go through some different techniques and we can talk about getting this done. And now you guys are going to also record your own voiceovers, right? And so I want you to consider your voiceovers that you're going to have to do. And if you're going to need them read, because you better do it really quick, you know, let me know right away. And you better let me know in Slack, right? Because I might not get the email right away. And here's the storyboard that this student did. Black is the color of omnipotence. Description. Background will be a starburst effect. List of specific 2D assets, right? The student listed them out. Sound effects that they want to use, maybe, possibly. And maybe some techniques that they want to use throughout the video. Here's their second scene, their third scene, and their fourth scene. And you guys can, if you guys want to start illustrating your, I would suggest you start illustrating your all of your assets as soon as possible as well. And then maybe creating any assets that you might want in 3D. That would be on here as well. Let me go to another example. Let's see. make sure that you guys put your name. So it's not just a design brief, right? It has your name on it. And in the like extension of the document, right? The document name should have your name on it. You know, use these, right? Topic, description. Cyan brings us relaxing feeling. So here's the script. Here's the color palette, the shades that they're going to use. Here is their discussion where they're talking about their inspiration that they like on certain scenes, right? And what they might want to incorporate. And then we have a list of descriptions and their storyboard on what they want to do, right? Voiceover for the frame, making sure you put that in there. That one's cool, right? This is a simple character that we could work with. No moving arms, no moving legs, just maybe floating in the water. That would be fine. That would be something I would be okay with. And then the third storyboard scene, notice that the student is using black as their other color. Nope, go back here. I want to see where that document is. Here's the printout of the document. This is what it's going to come to you guys looking like. Or you can put it in InDesign and also use it that way. Or access it that way. But here's how you can fill it out. Here is your, essentially, your template, right? And then there's also the InDesign file. But do not turn it in as an InDesign file. Just worth repeating there. Let's see this one. Let's download this one. Megan Brock did this. Red. Maroon. Not even red, but maroon. It's a shade of red, but it has a different characteristics and meaning. Like red, maroon surrounds us in holidays, restaurants, schools, and home interiors. This one's a good one. Restaurants, schools, home interiors. Great, great information, right? And now here is the voiceovers. In the 18th century, maroon was a verb used for leaving someone stranded at a deserted place with little survival rate. Being marooned, right? The color maroon can boost adrenaline, raise blood pressure, and your heart rate. Because of its warm and earthy nature, maroon also represents autumn. Expressing maroon can signify the need for energy and emotional healing. Cool. Examples, right? What they like to see. Storyboard. Perfect. Storyboard options. I didn't really see here. Here's the color palette. Let me see. Let's do green here. Color palette is right here. Inspiration. So the inspiration is laid out a little bit differently. Over the next couple pages, there's the inspiration. Inspiration here. And then here is the hand-drawn version of a storyboard. Right? And so I want these turned into me right away. I have them due May 1st, I believe. So, yeah, Monday. Because I am going over them, whether you guys like it or not, on Tuesday. And on this Thursday, we're going to go over any of these that have been turned in. Like I said, I would love to see some turned in early, right? And you have this at the same time you have your other, with the reel, right? The reel is very important. The reel is your final project. So let's get started on that, right? But it doesn't take as long. But combined, these two projects should take about the same time as working on like a normal project in this class, right? And so definitely some examples for color scopes here. Let's get the voiceovers ready to go. If you guys can start recording your voiceovers sooner rather than later, that's great. You know, getting a head start on this kind of stuff. So we might not do an animatic. I'm not quite sure. Maybe we'll talk about that on Thursday. But okay, guys, ready? Time to like kick it into high gear, get things going. I have faith in you guys. We're gonna power through this all together, and I'm gonna kind of expedite you guys through this Colorscope project. But you guys should at this point know all of the all of the really basic techniques and stuff that you need to get started and how to put a video together, right? We did it with the Monarch one. We did it with this 3-scene animation, and now we're doing it with our Colorscope project. And so these bigger projects are most likely what you would be working on when you graduate school, right? You're going to be working on something more than just a 10-second animation. Sometimes you'll do that, but not as often as you have these infographics, right? And so look over that, get some information. We'll talk more about it on Thursday. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good night. Enjoy. If you guys have questions, write me right away, right? The sooner the better. So I'll see you guys later.